Hey, this is Donald Heslop again with Padlock Technologies. I am the owner and principal consultant, and I'm here to round out my video series about SASE, specifically Cisco Secure Access. And we're going to talk about the last use case, which is VPN as a service, or RAVPN as a service to be specific. So the first use case was secure internet. The second use case was zero trust network architecture, or ZTNA for short. And the last one is VPN as a service. So let's start with that. So we got, there we go, RAVPN AAS. So this stands for Remote Access VPN. Basically, when users want to connect to internal resources, they go to a remote access VPN and then they could get to external resources. Now, there is plenty of ways to do RAVPN. Most of it's going to be terminated on a firewall. Doesn't matter what the firewall is. It could be an ASA, FTD, PAN, Fortinet, Checkpoint, WatchGuard, SonicWall, Juniper SRX, Screen OS, if those are still out there. The whole point of this is to basically make users on the outside world look like they're on the inside of the network when they're geographically in a different location. So, what is the main problem here that VPN as a service actually solves? So, what it actually solves is the CapEx issue when it comes to putting different VPN head-ins in separate locations. Now, I'll use FTDs for now. You can spend on the low end $1,500 for like a 1000 series. Now, obviously, there's going to be more in that 1000 range, all the way up to $37,000 for like a 9000 series. And that really depends on, this is more of service provider firewall, but some people buy them and there's different versions in between, like the 4000 series, such and such. Now, imagine you want to have three separate VPN head-ins depending on where someone is. Now, if you do it times three, you're looking at like 4500, and 4700 times three. I don't feel like doing the math right now, but you're looking at almost a little bit over 100,000 just for that, depending on how big your organization is. And that's a CapEx number. So you have to make that initial investment. And then there's the OpEx of someone having to support all that. So there's still OpEx that's going to be involved, which is, staff, training if they don't know it, etc. Now, these two are going to take, obviously, money and time, right? This is money and time. So why would you implement RAVPN as a service using Cisco Secure Access or a SASE solution? So what this actually does, it is allows you to spin up, I'm not going to say virtual, but spin up VPN head-ends in the cloud, and then people can connect to each VPN head-end based on their location. So let's say, we'll say the VPN head in here is on the West Coast. And you have another one here on the East Coast. Another one here for Central. And another one here for some other country. Let's say London office. Let's say the London office. Now, if you were to buy all four of these firewalls, again, their CapEx, this could be, and I've seen it, this could be an initial investment of probably like 120,000, right? Just in hardware. And then you look at professional services, they may charge you another like 80 grand to implement all this. So you're looking at like 200 grand, right? As a high end ballpark. And again, really depends on what firewall you buy. Now, obviously, these VPN head-ins are probably going to connect you to a data center, another data center, This could be a data center, and that's if you use all. If you have a data center, most people have two, but I've seen distributed data centers all over the place, especially with hybrid cloud. So if you have a hybrid cloud infrastructure, you may have a VPN head end up there to get there as well. So you add that cost. Now, what VPN as a service actually solves is you could do the same thing. You could spin up multiple VPN head ends in different locations, but they're all going to be going to, SASE Cloud. Again, this is where the SASE Cloud comes in. So what the SASE Cloud will do is you'll still have the same, okay, we have a VPN head in here for, East Coast, right? VPN. Then we have one here for West Coast. We have another one here for Central. And then we have another one here. We'll just use the same thing, London office, right? Now, the difference, though, is the CapEx is pretty much gone. So, CapEx is gone. You're not spending any money for a VPN head-end anymore because they're spun up in the cloud. And then people will say users. I'll have users down here. So we'll have user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4. Depending on where they are geographically, this person can go to that VPN head end. This person can go to this VPN head end, this VPN head end, that VPN head end. Then they can also go to a secondary. So this one might use that as a secondary. This user might use this as a secondary. This user might use, since Central is closer to West Coast or East Coast, and can use that one, or can technically go to this one, right? And these are all, and then this user obviously going to be in London, kind of wouldn't send it. Probably the easiest one for a backup would probably be West Coast based on geographical locations, but it depends. Now, all this is done using a VPN profile in Cisco Secure Access. Now, this VPN profile is pretty much, if you're used to doing RAVPNs on an ASA or an FTD, this is basically what you're configuring, right? But you're spinning these up virtually. Now, the OpEx cost is still there. Someone needs to operate it. Your internal team or someone like us that would give you like a managed service kind of situation where we would come in and manage your secure access implementation, and then you just tell us and we'll make the changes, we'll monitor it, we'll make sure access policies are correct, because some people create access policies wrong, ZTNA is working, and we will just, we do co-manage, right? So your team will still have access to it, but when you need to bring in like a layer 3 or level 3 guy or girl, you'll call us and we'll walk you through, or we'll do like the level 3 to 4 implementation work that you need, which would free up your staff to do the, level 1, level 2 work, because we don't want to take their jobs. We want to actually work with your IT team. But back to this use case, I see a lot of people using this because they're trying to consolidate hardware. If you can use Cisco Secure Access or SASE Cloud to actually control your RAVPN, you pretty much get rid of a VPN concentrator locally on box. And these things can get spin up anytime they want, right? You can just spin up multiple VPN profiles that will spin up virtual VPN head ends, and then people can just connect to where they want to go. Now, what about the next question is probably, what about internal resources? How do I access internal resources? Well, this goes back to, if you looked at our other lessons, the ACP in Cisco Secure Access actually controls access to those private resources that people are trying to connect to when they connect to RAVPN. So, for example, you would get a rule that you can use AD for it, or you can pretty much just use any if you want, but got to be careful with that. And the rule would say, source, and you would do the AD group or something like that, depends. And then the destination is some private resource, and then you configure your private resource by configuring that in SASE, and then you would give it an action. Okay, what are they allowed to do? All right, now, this is, again, like I said in the other video, kind of old school now. This does not implement ZTNA in it. This is your traditional RAVPN. So if you're used to your traditional RAVPN, that's what this is. It is not something that is ZTNA capable. And I could kind of see this getting pushed to the side because ZTNA can pretty much do everything you want it to do. So you don't really need this anymore, but it's a nice to have for people that are not ready for ZTNA, right? If you just want to, you're a small company, you don't really have anything in terms of mission critical data or something that you would need ZTNA for, and you just want people to be able to, hey, log into the remote access VPN, maybe do timesheets or maybe, access a file server or something like that. This would be one of the use cases that you would use VPN as a service for. Now, there is a bonus, since we're talking about VPN, there is a bonus VPN that you can do, but this is a very slow, I would say this is a 3B use case, not really a full use case. And technically that would be site to site VPNs via Secure Access Cloud. So what does that look like? Now, I did touch on this before, but let's say this is Secure Access. And I'm writing fast, so if I spell something wrong, I'm sorry about that. And we'll just say SASE. Now, technically, what you can do, I know I say technically a lot, but I'm a technical person, that's why I say it. You have your HQ. And then you have your branch. Now, normally, what you would do is, depending on your WAN architecture, what you're using, it could be site-to-site VPNs via policy-based or legacy-based VPN. It could be route-based VPNs. That's the new style. That's what everybody's going to, so I would suggest going to that. And Secure Access kind of doesn't do policy-based VPNs. It do all route-based VPNs, so that's what you got to go with. You would technically do a route-based site-to-site VPN here. So this is direct access. You can static route, BGP over the top, IGP if you want to do OSPF, ERGRP, RIP. I wouldn't really suggest ISIS. That's more of a service provider technology, but they kind of brought it back. Then you can have a secondary tunnel through Secure Access. Now, from a routing perspective, let's say you're using BGP. From a routing perspective, you would say routes that are coming from here are more preferred. And if you're doing that with BGP, pretty much use the weight, and then you just give the branch site, that site-to-site VPN or RAVPN, you just give that a higher weight value, and all traffic will go here until this disappears. And then you could just keep the weight value here, traditional weight value, and then this will be secondary. This will be in the BGP table, but not in the routing table. And that's just simple routing there. So if for some reason, any reason wire gets cut, they do a lot of construction, people run over a wire, and then, connectivity goes down, at least geographically there, or something happens with routing. Something happens where this pier goes down. Well, if that pier goes down, all routing will now come, these routes will see coming from here. So the next hop will be the Secure Access pier. Now, obviously, you're going to need a ACP to allow traffic from site 1 to site 2, right? Because everything is controlled through this ACP. And you can say, hey, site 1 going to site 2, allow. And you could do CIDR notation here. Now, I will say this. You have to be careful when you do CIDR notation because it removes all the inspection capabilities like malware inspection, IPS inspection. Currently, right now, as soon as you do a CIDR notation policy, those options are blank for some reason. Now, I know they're going to be fixing it with a new feature request. So whenever you see this, this might change. But as of right now, if you do site 1 to site 2 and you do CIDR notation, kind of removes all this. Again, I was going to do another video about this being use case number 4, but most people do not do this, right? They just do or they use secure access for the first 3, which is secure internet, ZTNA, RAVPN as a service. The first 2 are probably the main 2 that they're going to do this for, right? VPN as a service really depends on kind of design you're trying to use, but it is a use case that I've seen a lot of people use it. And you can tie in other things like ICE and do profiling and all that good stuff when you do RAVPN as a service. You can tie ICE on the back end, and in your data center, you might be running an ICE cluster. You can kind of authenticate based on ICE, and that gives it another mechanism of authentication. And then you can tie in Duo for MFA. So now you have ICE authenticating it, and you have Duo authenticated, and you have secure access creating policy. So it's like multiple security domains that you have to go through before somebody gets access to the network. So, but this one here is, I'm going to say 3B for use cases. It's not something that traditionally people would use, but it's definitely a feature that is available through Cisco Secure Access. So with that being said, if you want some more information about Cisco Secure Access, I have a white paper that you can download. You can click the link below. It takes you over, just put your name and email address in there, and then it'll give you the white paper. Read up on it, get some more knowledge about it. If you are interested in actually implementing this in your network, there's also another link that you can, click and schedule a discovery call. Like I said in all my other calls, this is a discovery call, not a sales call. I don't even know if I can help you because I don't even know anything about your network. All I can promise you is a conversation, and let's see if we can actually implement this in your network successfully so you can kind of get all these features and use cases in a new network. So that's it. I mean, you've seen all the use cases: secure internet, RAVPN as a service, ZTNA are the main ones, and the bonus one is site-to-site VPN using Cisco Secure Access or SASE. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you definitely need help, once again, go ahead and click that link. If not, it was a pleasure to give you some more knowledge on Cisco Secure Access. Thank you and have a nice day.